What's up, guys? Coming to you from Columbia again
One last time.
with our last superhero chat for the week. It's been an awesome week out here, and we're pretty excited.
Enjoying the people, the sights.
Yeah, coming back home today. We're just waiting on our ride to the airport, pretty much. Our friend David might show up here in a minute. It looks like the weed eater is back, so yippee! So if he jumps in, that's what's going on.
That's continuity right there. The weed eater coming back.
So I imagine when we get back home, we won't be able to do this as often, but that's why we're doing as many as we can.
That's
this
right.
Week. So,
and we're gonna do a Marvel one.
That's right. To Marvel.
Show Marvel some love.
As you saw, it's going to be about the X-Men. So we'll talk about. I think it's one of my favorite Marvel franchises.
Yeah, but they've really dropped the ball as of late.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, the artwork has looked okay, but the direction of the stories has just been so off.
Yeah.
Or off-putting, at least.
But, yeah, so we're going to give you our top 10 X-Men, which really it's 5 of my favorite and 5 of his favorite.
And we decided we couldn't overlap, so since I got mine in first, he's picking his...
It'd be my B team, but I do love them, so... I'm excited
He'll settle
to choose them.
And he likes the ones I like too, so kind of works out.
Anyways, all right, we'll let you go first since you picked first. What's your bottom 5? Oh, well, we're not going to include villains, so no Magneto.
Just the X-Men.
I love Magneto.
Or whatever.
Just the heroes that were in there.
So, coming in at number 5, I'd put Iceman. I think he's such an interesting character. I really love...
Who's your favorite?
No, Colossus would be my favorite, but see... He's ruining things.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Just kidding. But Iceman, I really loved the way they developed the character in the Age of Apocalypse series. He was kind of fractured because he was shattered repeatedly, and that really took a toll on his mind. And I thought that was such an interesting concept that he could survive being shattered in his ice form, and obviously it had a toll, but I also dig the fact that they gave him some shine in the Operation Zero Tolerance with Bastion, and he's been there from the beginning. You know, he was always the youngest. I'm the baby of my family, and so I can relate to that. Plus, he was an accountant at one point. I pursued that as well at one point in my life. You can see that didn't work out because I'm doing a bit. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's just an interesting power set that has like the ability to expand. It's not just he makes snowballs or he freezes guys in place, despite what Spider-Man and his amazing friends would have you believe. He actually can freeze parts of your body from the outside in, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so I think he has quite a bit of potential, and yeah, so just dig the character, love the look, especially with the spikes and stuff. Yeah, I love his friendship with Beast.
I hate what they've done to him lately.
Yes, I'm not a fan of that. You know, just because you tend to be a monogamous individual in your relationships, and you don't seem to be the ladies' man, doesn't mean that writers need to change your entire 40, 50-year history for the sake of modern sensibilities. Introduce new characters whose sexuality is ambiguous, or if you want to make it explicitly homosexual, then do that, Marvel, but don't take established characters who've had long-term relationships with females and then pretend like this is reasonable to do, because I'm not overly opposed to homosexual characters. I think if you're going to make a comic book that's sort of true to life, you kind of have to include that, right? So just don't change the ones that never gave any sort of indication before that was even a reality.
I think it's interesting, separately, on a separate note, that a lot of DC's people who have ice powers are villains.
Yes, that's actually an interesting point.
I don't know that there's any that are good. There's a bunch of them that are evil.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ice from the Justice League, and then Ice Maiden
Okay.
from the Justice League and the Global Guardians.
But you've got like 3 or 4 villains.
I can
and
name
all
5 villains off the top of my
that
head.
all-
Captain Cold, Mr. Freeze, Killer Frost, Icicle, Icicle Jr. That's 5.
So, so yeah, it's interesting how there's a lot of ice, but Marvel chose to make one that was good with ice. So that was interesting. And yeah, and their fire is evil. Or at least in the movie.
DC.
Fire. Right?
Oh, well, you got DC with Heatwave. He's a Flash villain.
Right.
And then
But
you
then
got
you also
Human
have,
Torch and folks like that. So
But anyways. Alright.
DC makes better use of their ice villains than Marvel makes use of their ice heroes. Let's say that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Although they haven't really done anything with Mr. Freeze in a long time.
Yeah, I assume he's due then. There'll probably be a good story about that coming up or something.
Yeah, we can hope.
Yeah. But that's DC, and we're trying to do Marvel.
That's right.
So let's cut
That's
that
right.
out.
Let's go back to Marvel. We don't do a lot of Marvel because DC's our favorite, but we do like Marvel too. So we
Yeah,
try
I
to
love some X-Men. I mean,
try
you
to-
look through my comic book collection, and a good bit of it is X-Men. I have all of the Age of Apocalypse storyline. I love that in the 90s.
Yeah. All right. So my bottom 5, of course, he picked some of mine, so I had to choose others, but that's okay.
Because all the ones we're going to name are great characters.
So my bottom 5 is the 80s Rogue or 90s Rogue.
90s Rogue.
So
The one from the cartoon.
the one from the
primarily.
cartoon. So she had stolen Captain Marvel's flight.
Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel's flight.
She's
and
Captain
strength.
Marvel now, but Miss Marvel, yeah. Well, hey,
And so
gotta
she
be
had
progressive, right?
she had super strength. She had flight, and of course she had her normal power with taking life.
Yeah, sucking powers.
I
And
feel like she
memories
had
and junk.
other things too.
Near invulnerability, and that's
Yeah.
about it.
And she's like this real southern country girl in the
Yep.
in the 90s cartoon. It's really funny. So just hearing her with like this really southern accent.
Drawl. It's a drawl.
It's great. It's great. I like the character. I felt like she was too emo in the movie.
Right.
I didn't mind her in the first one. And then, but by the third movie, I was just like, let's get this character off. Like, she in the 90s, like she's a pretty powerhouse character, which is awesome. And then
she'd have been too powerful for the movies, and yet instead of her, they could have easily gone with Kitty Pryde, and it wouldn't have been a problem.
That's right.
Because she took Kitty Pryde's role. I mean, they could have gone with Jubilee, for crying out loud.
I like Jubilee too.
Either one of them would have been a better choice, I think, than Rogue. The only reason they went with Rogue is because in the 90s cartoon they had the constant desire, and I was in the comics too, but especially in the cartoon show, she wanted to get rid of her powers so that she could have a normal relationship, and obviously that led to some of the storyline that was in the movie about the cure and those sorts of things.
So, but yeah, so I like Rogue. I didn't really care for all the whining that we got out of the movies, but from the 90s show, she's awesome.
Right.
Like, she's running around, she's punching those.
She's just duking it out with the Juggernaut.
Yeah. I was thinking about the, what are those machines called? Sentinels. She's like going up and like punching Sentinels. It's great. It's awesome.
No, it was, good stuff.
She's like, she reminds me of like the Marvel Wonder Woman in that show, just with a couple of their powers.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sweet.
I think we should do a video at some point. Favorite cartoons of all time, top 10, best comic book cartoons of all time.
That sounds great.
Because X-Men would rank on there, no doubt.
Probably. All right, here's number 4.
Number 4, Archangel.
Uno number 4.
That's right, Uno number 4.
Uno Quattro.
That's right, whatever. See, look who's picking up the language now. Anyway, Archangel.
I wouldn't have chosen him.
Well, that's good. But he has a visually interesting look. Whether he's got just straight angel powers, because I like the blue and the white costume, the white and the red costume he had with the halo on the chest. Thought those were awesome looking. I don't know. I dig like winged characters. Hawkman is one of my favorite comic book characters.
I know that
I know the power set isn't exactly the same, but he did get the power boost with the arc. When Apocalypse changed him into Archangel, the Death character or whatever in the Fall of the Mutants. You can't go wrong with metal wings that shoot metal spikes that have like poison or something.
Mm.
I think they called them flechettes or something.
Sort of like Falcon.
Yeah, a little bit like Falcon. I mean, Falcon's one of my favorites too, and he's a winged character, so there you go. I don't know. There's just something about winged characters that really interests me. Yeah. So one of my favorite visuals is Jim Lee, X-Men #1 from the early '90s. He's carrying Colossus, and he throws Colossus, and there's this little Chris Claremont is the writer, and he's like, together they make a pretty formidable wrecking ball or something like that, and just I don't know, that combination just was really cool to me to see him carrying Colossus and then throwing him at the X Mansion as they were practicing in the Danger Room.
Yeah. I liked him in the '90s show. I didn't care for him at all in the movies.
Yeah. No, he's such a terrible character in the movies, but I love the blonde hair and the blue skin. That contrast just looked really cool to me. So.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all I've got to say. I don't know that there's any particular storyline where he shined, but I dug the Psylocke relationship that they started, and there's a really cool book called The Chaos Engine. It's X-Men: The Chaos Engine, and it's a trilogy of books put out in the late '90s, and he and Psylocke kind of are the focal characters of that. So in the first book, I forget. It's like one issue, one book focused on the Red Skull, one focused on Magneto, and one focused on Doctor Doom. So I don't remember the order of that, but I do remember it was enjoyable to read. So if you're into the character Archangel, I recommend checking that out.
Yeah.
Obviously, check out his issues as Death in the X Factor series. Yeah. So.
All right, so my next one is Storm. I've always liked Storm. I think she's a really awesome character.
Which look are you thinking? The cartoon or the punk look, where kind of like the newest movie where she had like this mohawk down the middle.
I liked her in the X-Men 1 through 3 look.
Okay. I prefer the cartoon show. I just like the thick head of hair.
Didn't she have that in the movie?
Yes, but toward the end, Halle Berry cut it really short.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, I thought she looked good in both. I like the long hair and the short hair.
But they didn't get the volume of her hair right in the movies.
Yeah, that's true.
She had really thick hair in the cartoon show, and it totally fit the character because she was very much the goddess type because of her power set, particularly when she was home in Africa. So
I was just like in the movies, I love like how her eyes turn white when she's powering up.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I just really like the idea of like controlling the weather, and
that's a great power.
I love like in the movie when she shocks Toad. That's great. I think that'd be a really cool power. Honestly, like if I had control of the weather, I would just like make it snow all the time.
And see, here's the problem with that. They make it clear in the comics that if she were to utilize her power like that on a regular basis, she would throw the climate out of whack.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So then things like global warming might become a real thing.
Yeah. But I think she's really cool. She's a great X-Men leader, I think.
Absolutely. That was the next thing that I was going to point out.
So, the leaders I would have for the
Strong
X-Men.
female character. It's
Yeah.
good.
The leaders I would have for the X-Men would be either Cyclops or Storm. Both of those are really great, strong leaders, and I love how in the movies how she becomes like the professor over the school. I was
Yes,
like, that is
yes,
perfect.
that was great.
That is perfect. She is like,
and I hope
she's the
finally
best like
explore
teacher.
that one day, right? Because she's got that motherly instinct without being, you know, their mother.
Right.
Oh, I love her relationship with Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
Like they did have something of a big sister mother daughter kind of relationship.
Yeah.
In the comics, and it was great. Like the way Chris Claremont wrote that was compelling stuff. Like you actually felt bad for Kitty when she went off to join Excalibur in Britain, and because Storm wasn't around and she was gonna have to stand on her own and that kind of thing.
But I just like how like she's like super powerful and like, she could take on like anybody in the X-Men.
She's definitely one of the most powerful X-Men without question.
And
probably the most powerful X-Men on our list.
I think she's a lot more interesting than like what's her name? Jean Grey.
Yeah.
Jean Grey just never really was interesting to me.
But she's still Cyclops' true love.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Ignore the Emma Frost garbage we've been getting for the last 10 to 15 years. Because I do. And I'm happier for it.
Emma Frost with
White Queen?
With Cyclops?
Yeah, they've been together for a long time now.
Yeah. No, Jean Grey and Cyclops are the ones meant to be together.
That's right.
Not Jean Grey.
And I have the issue that shows that, where they get married, it's a beautiful thing. I realize that people get divorced in real life and that sort of thing, and I realize that they killed Jean off. But I think they're bringing her back. So.
She's been back for a little bit now.
No, I don't mean the young one. I mean the actual Jean Grey.
I think there's two Jean Greys now, just like everybody else has two versions of themselves.
Not quite.
Except for Cyclops. Anyways.
Cyclops has
So I love.
He went out into space.
He sort of died. If I remember.
Spoiler alert.
It's not worth reading, so if you read it, whatever.
And if you didn't, you're not missing anything.
Anyways, hopefully they'll bring back some good X-Men comics. That'd be great. We'll see. But I love Storm. I think she's great. I like the visual look of the character. I love the lightning feel.
Yeah.
And so I just think she's a really cool character. And honestly, like I feel like the ultimate end of her character is settling down in her home country and protecting her people.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. Like
I don't see her married to Black Panther though.
I can just see it. Yeah, I don't either. I can just see her like when there's a drought, just like making it rain for the.
Well, and you know what? That's
like
where
that.
Professor X found her, doing that very thing.
Yeah,
she served as the goddess for her village, and so she would bring rain when there was drought and that sort of thing. And he offered to help her hone her powers so that she can help a greater number of people at any one time than just a small village. So.
All right, so Storm, what's your next one?
Number 3. This is a toss-up between two characters, so this is sort of like 2A and 2B. So Nightcrawler, one of my absolute favorites. Loved him since the 80s arcade game. Love his look. Love his power set. Love his attitude. I love the religious aspects of his background.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting take on the character. He looks like a demon, and yet he's a believer.
Right.
A Christian, Catholic, or whatever. I know at one point he wanted to be a priest, but that seems a little too much for me. Like, I know in the 90s cartoon they made him a monk. So...
They made him monk-like in the movies.
Yes, but he was very much into the, what is it called when you beat on yourself?
Stoic?
No. Cyclops is stoic. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I don't think he'd ever be a priest, precisely because he has various relationships with females, like Amanda Sefton and Cerise, which is a character Alan Davis introduced, and I thought was really cool because it connected Excalibur to the Shi'ar, which I wish he had done more with or been able to do more with. So yeah, I mean, those are just a couple. I mean, I know he dated some chicks, and I said chicks. I don't mean any offense by that. He dated females early on in Chris Claremont's run with the X-Men, circa 120. I've got one where he gets kidnapped on a date. I can't remember who he's dating, but Arcade was the one who kidnapped him.
But I like.
It was interesting.
I think he has one of the most interesting power sets.
Yes.
Maybe one of the most useful. And so, like one of my favorite scenes in the movies is when he attacks the president.
Yes,
great.
no, like that's the best scene in all
That
the
was
X-Men
beautiful.
movies, because he's totally. I mean, but by the time he's done, he would be spent, because it's very taxing on him to teleport quickly like that. So he does have limitations, and I appreciate that. That's why he's such an acrobatic character. He grew up in the circus, showing off, but he's also a skilled sword fighter, and I love that. I really dug the Carlos Paccio look that they gave him about Excalibur 100 or so, where he was brandishing double swords. My favorite look is the Age of Apocalypse look, where he had the swords on his back and he had the cool looking eye tattoo. I'm not into tattoos, but that eye tattoo was really sick looking on him because it was this bright red against the contrast of the dark blue of his skin or whatever. So
Yeah.
now, I prefer the regular X-Men Nightcrawler, not the Age of X. I prefer the look of the Age of Apocalypse, but I prefer the character of the standard Marvel Universe because he's not as bloodthirsty. He's more lighthearted and happy-go-lucky. Swashbuckling. I love that.
Yeah, he was very serious in the movies, and I think in the cartoon he was very funny, very lighthearted.
In the cartoon?
Yeah, isn't that right?
No, he was a monk character.
So he's been in a cartoon where he was more of a lighthearted character. I've seen him in
oh well, I mean, there's Pride of the X-Men, which was a one episode kind of thing. Oh, you're talking about X-Men Evolution, maybe, where he's a younger character in that.
So.
Yeah, he's a teenager in that. Yeah,
like
and he's very much more a prankster in that. So yeah, that counts. I enjoyed that.
But I also liked him, the Storm and Nightcrawler relationship that was going on in X-Men 2, the movie.
I guess I'll have to go back and watch.
I thought that was cool. Well, she's the one who finds them, and like they have a lot of dialogue together.
Oh, you don't mean relationship like let's get married, but just they have that bond, that connection.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah,
she's very fascinated by him in the movie. But anyways, I like the character. Like that's on my list of favorite powers that I would have.
Teleportation.
So
now, do you want teleportation like he does, line of sight, or something like magic Colossus' sister has, where she opens portals and can go from one place to another?
I want both.
Okay.
I can open a portal and go wherever I want to, or
go big or go home,
or
right?
go where I can see. So
yeah.
But anyways, what's next? Kitty Pryde. I love Kitty Pryde. She's definitely one of my top 5 in general.
She's one of the best. I'd argue she's the best female character in the X-Men because she started as something of a teenager child, and she matured to the role of like head butt kicker.
So
she was trained by Wolverine, so you can't go wrong with that. She's into computers. You can't go wrong with that. So I mean, she is just one of the best developed characters in all of comics, but especially in the X-Men.
She's got one of my favorite Flash powers, which is phasing through things and intangibility.
Right.
She have other powers?
No, I mean, she could airwalk. She could turn herself intangible such that she can float on the air. But if there's a strong enough wind, it doesn't exactly work. So she's really got to concentrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's primary. she's a gifted technician. Like she can work with computers really well. So
Yeah,
that was always something
I
that
kind
played
of
up in
like
Excalibur.
the plot in what was that movie? X-Men: Days of Future Past,
Okay.
where she's sending Wolverine back into the past.
Well, the ironic thing is, in the comic book, she's the one who goes back.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. She goes back.
But I think it was cool. That was a cool version of her powers.
Don't worry, I know my X-Men comics. It's Rachel Summers who ends up going back to at some point, and that's who I was confusing that with.
So, and she's just like this very friendly, outgoing character. And,
yeah, she's not terribly brooding.
She's friends with all the people.
And at times she does long for relationships like any teenage girl would. So she was heartbroken. Huh?
Or any teenager.
Well, that's true, but I just mean like they did a really good job with her as opposed to seeing a guy, cry or be concerned that she's not attractive. I mean, we don't usually voice that opinion, so it's easier to hear it coming from a female character than a guy, because you'd be like, man, he's such a loser.
I like the Kitty Pryde Colossus.
Yes, that's such a great relationship, and it's been well developed over the years. They were together for a while. Then he went to the Secret War planet, the Beyonders Homeworld or something like that, and he met this girl who healed him, and in the healing process, she gave him part of her soul or something, and so they had this brief moment together, and then when he came back, Colossus came back. He told her about it, broke her heart. They broke up. Wolverine went with him and Nightcrawler to a bar, and then Juggernaut was there. And I think Wolverine recognized it was Juggernaut, but Colossus didn't, and he got his butt kicked by him. And Wolverine told Nightcrawler to let him take his lumps because of what he had done to Kitty, and I love that issue. It is so good. Hey, you would dig it too. It's a John Romero Jr. issue because he did X-Men for a while. So it's wet. It's very pretty, the artwork and stuff. So I think you dig that quite a lot.
But
and then of course they stay on a break. Colossus leaves after his sister dies, and then eventually he comes back to Excalibur, but they don't immediately start their relationship again. It takes long time in our reality. I don't know how many years they stayed apart, but then when they got back together after Colossus died and came back in Astonishing X-Men, it was good reads.
So yeah, I like that. They're doing like the wedding these days, but I just like it's hard for me to pick up a Marvel book these days. But
sure.
Anyways,
that's actually worthwhile to
number 2.
Getting married. Beast. So Beast.
I love Beast.
I love the look. I love he's goofy at times and he's brilliant at times. I like to think there's a little bit of that in me. Don't spit water on your computer, dude. One of the things that I really loved was in the Ultimate X-Men. He and Storm got in a relationship, and he they don't really do that, the interrelation. I hate Cat Beast. I much prefer. Right, yeah, you're fine. I much prefer the regular Beast character to the lion-faced Beast. I love that he's super strong. I love that he's agile. I love that he's very well read. Those are all things that really lend itself to my love of the character. It's a very visually appealing look, and it helps that some of my earliest comics included him.
Had to let David in.
Here
he is. Slide on over. Here we go.
Hey guys,
welcome in. Come on in. Oh,
you got room.
So in case you missed our other video, this is David.
Hi.
A friend from Colombia. And we're just talking about the X-Men.
Yeah,
the
our
X-Men?
top 5.
Yeah.
And we'll let you jump in a minute with yours if you want.
I don't like X-Men.
You don't like the X-Men?
I don't like the X-Men.
Well, that's right, because you're into the movies, and so we're primarily talking comics and cartoons and stuff.
Well,
We're hitting a
movies.
little on the movies, but
Okay,
it's
guys.
primarily
See you
this.
later then.
I guess he can serve as a voice of reason, but yeah. So those are all really good reasons why I like Beast. One of my earliest issues was like X Factor. I want to say it was issue 9, and on the cover it's the X Factor team, which is just the original X-Men, versus Freedom Force, and Beast is on top of Blob, getting ready to punch him in the face, and I just love that visual. It is one of my favorite comic covers of all time. It's just really well done.
I think what endears me to the Beast is that although he does, do a lot with the X-Men and fight, I met him through the movies where he's more in the political realm, and so he has all these powers and stuff, and but he tends a lot of his time just being a normal person, and even though of course he looks crazy to our minds, and it would be weird for him to be like in the public sphere, but kind of like Beast Boy in DC, but he doesn't let that harm him. He's just kind of this kind, gentle guy who goes around and works in public view, and he's not afraid to work with humans. And I like characters that are well developed that have powers, but tend to do more of like regular stuff, and not just fighting on superhero teams. But he's there when he needs to be.
You know how he was able to get to that point?
Yeah.
The Avengers. He was a member of the Avengers in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah. George Perez, some beautiful comics, I'm telling you.
I like George Perez.
He's such a great artist. Totally underrated. I wish he were doing more today.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, he's solidified his status as one of the all-time greats. So,
which is similar to my number 2, Gambit. I feel like he's underused a lot. And then when he's brought in, he's not that great, honestly. I liked him in the movie. Most people didn't.
No, it was terrible.
Just because
there were aspects that I thought were okay,
but nothing beats the '90s cartoon. He's great in that. He's
well developed.
Which if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it.
I just watched Logan, the last movie. One that I've seen.
That's really not a good.
Well, that's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
I just mean like that's not a good basis for you to like or dislike the X-Men.
Yeah, that's the reason why I say I haven't seen enough stuff.
Okay, so you're indifferent than not really opposed.
I like Gambit because I've always liked him because he had the bow staff. Primarily, I like bow staff fighters. Tim Drake, Donatello, Gambit. Anyways, there might be a commonality there, like his flying. But
wings. It's not just the flying; it's the wings.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways,
it's not whatever.
But I also liked his ability, just to be able to charge objects with psionic energy and make them explode. And I thought that was awesome.
I love that he uses cards.
That's
There's
great.
Just something really.
And he
cool
has
about
perfect
that.
aim, so he can just flick cards and hit exactly where he needs to, and it's awesome. I think that's a really cool character. I like him better as a hero than an anti-hero, but and then him and Rogue get together a lot, and that's pretty awesome.
Dig the duster jacket.
And I kind of like how he's on the outskirts. He's not
at the heart of the X-Men.
He's not the heart of the X-Men. He's somebody he comes in and out, depending on the need or if their allegiance matches up.
And he has a shady past, so he's always that wild card.
Yeah.
And I say that with a straight face.
I feel like he's the better Deadpool, and some people might hate that, but I like him a lot better.
I'd rather watch a movie about Gambit than Deadpool personally,
So,
but not with Channing Tatum or Tatum Shannon or whatever his name is.
the guy who played him last time.
No, the guy he played the G.I. Joe character in the first movie.
Channing Tatum.
Yes.
The actor.
Yes, thank you. See, he knows what I'm talking about, even if I don't.
I love the character. I like his fighting style. I like all his powers. I think they're really awesome. Kind of a neat mix. And so, anyway, we're about to hit our top 2. So let's do some of our
honorable mentions. I'm going to throw in Banshee. I just think such an interesting power. There's a lot you can do with the background of the character being from Ireland, and like there's a whole mythology there that they could have tapped into but never did. I love the idea of him trying to train the next generation of mutants with Generation X. You know, there was a lot of hints dropped in various things. I loved him in the Phalanx uh, storyline. I'm drawing a blank what it's called now. But anyway, he and White Queen and Sabretooth and Jubilee team up to fight off the Phalanx and save the Generation X characters. Monk, or not Monk, what am I saying? Sync and Skin and Blink, all those characters. Just like so much story potential, but then they killed him.
Yeah. I like Bishop. He'd be an honorable mention.
Yes.
And he's able to take in power and then put it back out. Is that right?
Yes, he absorbs kinetic
really
energy and redirects it.
I love the hit. He was one of my favorite parts about the Days of Future Past. I was like, man,
the movie.
Why has this character not been used more? I was like, this guy's awesome. And so like he's having people shoot at him and he's absorbing it and then he just puts it right back out. It's awesome. I was like, this character is really cool. You were saying that he is a time traveler.
Yeah, so in the cartoon and the comics, he comes back from the future. In the cartoon, he assumes the role of Kitty Pryde. Yeah. So he goes back to the past to save Senator Kelly from assassination, similar to the movie. And in the comics, Kitty goes back to save Senator Kelly because it's his death that leads to the institution of the Sentinels and that sort of thing. In the cartoon, though, he wasn't truly an X-Man because, you know, he just came back from the past, or the future to the past, to stop that assassination plot and then go back to the future. In the comics, though, he gets stuck in the past, and he's come back to protect Professor X from some sort of mysterious threat that, spoiler alert, turns out to be Professor X in the Onslaught form or whatever. But he has such a cool power set because
he's really cool.
He can absorb energy and turn it into physical strength as well as the biokinetic energy that he shoots out of his hands.
So that's just a really cool power. And similar to him, I like Cable.
Yes.
I love Cable. Actually, I like Cable better than I like Deadpool, even though they team up all the time. He's really the reason I'm excited about this new Deadpool movie, which I haven't seen yet.
I heard he's good in the movie. So.
And I like that he's Jean Grey and Cyclops' son.
Yep.
And
sent to the future to keep him from dying from the TO virus, techno-organic virus.
And then
that's why he's got the metal arm.
And then he comes back, and then he just travels throughout time, similar to Rip Hunter, which is one of my favorite, and Booster Gold.
Just for the record, in the movie, he's not Cyclops and Jean's child.
Oh,
spoiler alert.
That's all right. He's Cyclops and Jean's child. I don't care what.
Right. I mean, he ought to be.
I don't care what the movie says.
They certainly alluded to it in the cartoon show, and that's one of my favorite. Like, I loved X-Force growing up. And I thought he was a visually interesting character as well as his backstory. He was a more militant Professor X.
I like the grizzled attitude he has, and just like the you don't straighten up. I'm gonna shoot you, and you don't want to cross him, and he's just an awesome character. I was reading the Cable comic book run that came out a year ago or so, and I had to drop it because I didn't have money. But it's a great run if you want a good Cable run there. But I really like the character a lot. He's a lot of fun. Love that time traveling aspect, so he can travel anywhere in time. And
well, not anymore.
Just a fun character.
When he first showed up, he could.
So
not anymore.
I don't care about it anymore. He does in the comic that was.
Well, you know that's called a retcon.
There you go.
Because they got rid of
the retcon.
That's right.
All right.
What do you call a retcon of a retcon?
A retcon.
Convoluted. That's what you call it. That's your word of the day, YouTube. Convoluted. We'll go to Professor X.
Professor X. And I love, what's his name as Professor X?
I'm sorry.
Ian McKellen's Magneto.
Yeah. Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, beautiful. He's one of my favorite actors of all time.
And just for the record, he's the best captain as well. In Star Trek.
I'd go to Next Generation, but with I like William Shatner.
No,
He's a fun.
it's Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, original series,
what?
and then Enterprise. Yeah. Yes.
Or you could say like original series was the best series, and then you have Picard as the best captain. I could go with that.
No, I don't want the original series. I much
original
prefer
series.
Next Generation.
Anyways,
It's more philosophical.
but he is
There's a lot more
he
going
is
on
the
there.
perfect Professor X. He's the perfect Professor X.
I
Just
think
like
the
Ian
guy
McKellen,
that's doing the young one too. I think
He's
he's
just like Ian
Good
McKellen
actor.
is the perfect Magneto, and they did spectacular with the younger versions of themselves too. So just great. I love Professor X. I like that he's kind of the reason the X-Men exist. He's brought them all together.
right to both train them and protect them.
So, and he's such like a caring guy, and he's so powerful, even though he's can't walk.
It's all mental, yeah. He's sort of like the Oracle of the Marvel Universe, or he could be.
Right. And even though, even if he never used his mind powers, he's still such a powerful character because of all the people he's trained.
That's right.
And all the people that he's helped over the years, human and mutant alike. And but then you add his intellect and his telekinesis.
Telepathy. He doesn't really have telekinesis. It's all telepathy.
And you're just like, man, this guy is a genius and just an amazing character.
He's so powerful that there's the concern about being corrupted. There's
a good reason that Magneto wears the helmet. There's a very good reason.
Juggernaut too.
Yeah, there's a very good reason that they're afraid of him because he's that powerful. So I really love it. I think he's a great character. I like some of the movies that have kind of made him torn, where he's done things that he regrets. I think that's really cool. But so it's a great. I love the character. He's a lot of fun. I like the thing when we go to Days of Future Past where he's struggling between his powers and his ability to walk.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool
take
on the character. And I loved how he got his bald head. That was really cool. So, anyways. So
last honorable mention is, of course,
Wolverine.
The one you've been waiting for, Wolverine.
And you're like, why isn't he on the top? That's because
he's overused.
He's not that great of a character.
He's okay in the X-Men, but just the way he gets focused on so much in the movies and in the comics and stuff, he just wears on you eventually.
Now I enjoyed him in the movies, and I'm not saying I didn't enjoy him in the movies, but I feel like he was too important.
Honestly, I haven't even watched the movie yet, but Logan seems like in my mind the best use of that character.
He's excellent in that movie. I think the problem is they kind of tried to make him a team player, and he's not a team player.
No, but he is. With the X-Men in the comics, he's much more interesting when he's rubbing up against
Cyclops.
Well, no, just any of the X-Men in general. Chris Claremont wrote the best Wolverine. I'll just say that. I think he really captured well the essence of the character, but because he became so popular as a result of that, Marvel's like, oh, let's put him everywhere, and you're just like, oh, this guy again? Or at least that's how I felt.
Yeah, I've never thought he was that important of a character. I like him. I think he's interesting. I just don't like him that much.
Right.
So, if you're a big Wolverine fan, we're sorry. Not sorry.
Right. Hashtag that.
But, he can be a really great character, like in Logan. It was an amazing movie.
Yeah.
And I liked X-Men 1. He was really great in that, but after that, he just started to wear on me.
Right. In 2, he's just, he's the central figure, and you're like, why? I thought this was going to be about Nightcrawler, or I thought we were going to focus more on the team, and Why does it have to be so Wolverine centric?
Well, I don't think he makes for a good leader because
No.
he's an outsider.
Right.
He's kind of a loner, and they kind of get that in the movies. But then they wanted him to be the leader, and I was like, that's not Wolverine. Like,
Right. He's
He's
sort of your
kind
secret
of this
weapon.
outsider who comes in. He doesn't fit well in the team, but he has to be on the team because you need him. Or
Right. He's your secret weapon that you unleash at the moment of your greatest need.
he doesn't want to be there, but he knows he has to be there.
And
so
he
he's
grows to
there.
love being there, but
And I love how like him and Cyclops always butt heads in the '90s show.
well, that was true to the comics because he fell in love with Jean when he saw
Yeah.
her. So
Well, and just like Cyclops is the leader and he makes all the decisions, and then
sure.
and then Wolverine doubts everything that ever comes up because he's that character. And I always love their bickering and stuff.
All right.
So, what you like about Logan?
Well, for me, it's a
Try to get you in there.
No,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. For me, it's an amazing movie because uh, it's more like a vulnerable character.
Right.
Uh, as I told you the last episode that I was present here, I like those characters that has more a human side, and I think Logan in this one portrays Wolverine in a more human and even he is the fit character. He has been defeated now. He has no hope, and the only reason for him to live to live is Professor Xavier, who is dying there in the movie. Spoiler alert, guys. And also he has to fight against a better version of himself,
Yeah.
who is powerful. He's more powerful, and he has to take care of a bunch of kids, and especially a girl that has the same abilities than him.
She's actually like a clone of him.
It's a
Yeah,
clone of him.
kind of like
It's
his
a girl,
daughter.
and she is an amazing actress too. And I think it's a more compelling movie for me. You can relate to the characters and suffer with them.
Yeah.
It's not all the time like a bunch of characters fighting. It has a lot of a good action scenes,
Right.
but also it has a very emotional structure that you can build up
Right.
constantly.
Yeah.
And the end of the movie is really amazing because it's really very meaningful, and for me that what really got me into
Yeah.
the Logan film.
And I think that X-23 is a much more interesting character in general than Wolverine ever was.
She has the same power set, and because she's a girl, there's different ways you can go with that story and make it interesting.
Well, and I don't know how she is in the comics because I haven't read her, but in the movie, like I think she's just seeking for a family, and I really like that aspect of her character, and she doesn't want to.
She's sort of the anti-Logan in the fact that he's welcomed. She feels like an outsider, and she desires that inside position.
Yeah.
And I think they did that in the comics pretty well too, because eventually, she starts to have romantic relationships and that kind of thing, and they really did. I thought they did pretty good with her character. I don't like her costume as Wolverine, because when he died in the comics, she became Wolverine, and
Yeah.
I didn't like the look of the costume. I
I think
just
she
thought it
needs
was
to do
weird.
her own costume.
Yeah.
But I think she's really interesting overall. I think she's a better character. She fits in with the team. She's trying to have more of a family than Wolverine ever did, and I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
That's just me.
On to number one.
All right, yeah.
My number one is Colossus, which I kind of gave away earlier, but that's okay. I'm just into those
Into the
big,
camera.
strong characters. I love that he can transform his body and his skin into steel, and be just about invulnerable. He is the most physically powerful X-Men character. I like the tension they always give when Wolverine and he look like they're about to lock horns, because the question is, can Wolverine's claws cut through Colossus' skin? I think that's just an interesting take on the character. He's very artistic.
Did they ever answer that?
No. He's very artistic. He comes from Russia, and so that clash of realities is so intriguing to me. And of course, when he was created and being written. The Cold War was going on, so there was a lot of various tensions and things. They showed his family struggles as farmers in Russia. And then, of course, they introduced, his sister was there from the beginning, but she grew up and developed powers of her own, and his brother was something of an evil mutant. So, like, just all the ways that you could create stories out of him, and I thought it was really cool because I never thought of this, but I heard an interview recently with Chris Claremont, and he was talking about, I believe it's Dave Cochran, who created the visual look of Colossus, and he has all the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. And so in Dave Cochran's mind, Colossus was going to be like this focal point of the X-Men, and at least visually, because your focal character usually has the primary colors. Think Superman. And then as Chris Claremont was starting to write the X-Men, he was drawn somehow to Nightcrawler, and so Nightcrawler became, one of his. It's like it's an earthquake or something. Without all the noise and us worrying, but yeah. So I just love the character. I'm drawn to the physically powerful characters like the Hulk or Thing or Superman or Martian Manhunter or whoever. In this case, though, Colossus. And you know what? One of the biggest reasons, I'll just say two things. One, the Pride of the X-Men. I love that cartoon. It's so cheesy. It's so over the top. But he stands there duking it out with Juggernaut, and I just love that visual. And I really hate that they didn't do more with that in the movie X-Men 3. I think that would have helped keep it from falling all over the edge of garbage. But
I enjoyed in X-Men 3 how the younger characters kind of shined a lot more.
Right, but this dude's made of metal, and he couldn't shine quite as brightly as I would have preferred. The other thing is, again, the X-Men arcade game. I just picked him and loved playing with him, and he was always awesome. So that's my top 5.
Like
Iceman, Archangel, Nightcrawler, Beast, and Colossus.
In X2, Colossus, you see him saving all the kids.
Yes, but it's very short.
I know, but
I mean,
I appreciated that.
I appreciated the cameo. I even appreciated
really cool.
the fastball special that they had at the beginning of X3, where they're training against the Sentinel head. Anyway, but I feel like they could have done so much more with the character, and I mean, it's their movie; they'll do what they want. I hope when Marvel gets the rights back from Fox, they'll do them right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like Colossus. I like him in Deadpool 1. He was a lot of fun in that. He's a lot bigger in that too, and he had the Russian accent, which was cool.
Right.
So they were getting back to the character, and of course they didn't have Kitty Pryde, but that's all right. But my number 1 is Cyclops. I've always loved Cyclops. I hate what they've done to him in the comics lately. And they did bring him on Champions, and I was excited about that until I started reading
Champions.
Champions.
What it was. Thank you.
Until I started reading Champions, but he was a de-aged Cyclops.
No, he's Cyclops from
the past.
Earlier, yeah.
Basically de-aged.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Essentially. I like Cyclops. I think he's a lot of fun. I think he was too brooding in the movies. The first movie I enjoyed him, but they kind of like emasculated him in the other two.
Yeah, Wolverine cut his.
It was too whiny, and I hated that. I was like, this guy's like the leader of the X-Men. Like,
disconnected him from his man.
And he has been for a long time. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. Like, I don't know. I didn't like the way they took it in the movies, but like in the '90s cartoon, which is what I watched growing up, like he's a man. Like
he owned his leadership.
That's
role.
right, and he took it seriously. He cared for his teammates and even Wolverine, which he didn't like, and he led really well. Plus, I thought it was awesome power to be able to shoot lasers out of your eyes.
And you know what? He's accessing another dimension when he does that.
Which is pretty sweet.
So he arguably could be the most powerful, because if he could somehow find a way to channel all the energy from that other dimension, he could probably blow up the world.
Yeah. So I mean, I just thought it was cool, and then like I like the struggle that he has. Like he can't see um, normally, so he has to wear these specialized glasses so he can even see. And like
he kind of proves.
he can't really control his power on his own. He has to have the help of his glasses, and so he's really completely reliant on something else to keep him in control. And I think that's really cool. So anytime his glasses get taken away,
Or they fall off.
he has to close his eyes as quickly as he can so he doesn't destroy everything. And although I did enjoy one of the few moments I enjoyed out of X3 was when I think it was X3 when Jean Grey had him close his eyes and was able to help him see regularly. I thought that was really beautiful. But then the rest of the movie was terrible. But you know, as a Cyclops fan, I enjoyed that little brief moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the character. I've liked him since I was a little kid. He was probably one of my first favorite superheroes. Probably just from the TV show.
And he's had some really interesting looking costumes as well. But the funny thing that you mentioned with the glasses is that just because you have rose-colored glasses on doesn't mean the world looks any better or is actually any better.
Yeah.
So.
But I hate what they've done to him in the comics these days. Kind of like what they did to Iceman.
Yeah.
Made him a terrible character. They had him blow up this mist from the Inhumans, where the Inhumans were like trying to turn everybody into Inhumans, and so he blows it up and saves the world. And then Marvel portrayed him as the villain. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like
Right.
He did exactly what everybody else would have done in his situation.
They've moved
Save
him
the
into
world.
position as being one of these great X-Men bad guys, and you're like, you're basically taking a dump on 50 years worth of continuity that
Right.
suggests that if anything, he's the most sold out to Professor X's dream, and yet here you are making him the new Magneto or something.
They've done some pretty terrible things to the character, and I hate that. He kind of did a lot of dumb stuff in the comics, and I really hate that they've done that to him.
Yeah.
Because I really like the character. I think he's really interesting. He's a great leader, but maybe the last 20 years have not been good for him.
Yeah.
And
maybe 15 years.
15.
Yeah, about 15.
And so like, I don't know how they justify making him that villain. I was like, he made like the right choice. Like, and they're trying to portray it, say, oh well, he shouldn't have done that mist, and it was sacred and whatever. And like the young Cyclops is living in his shadow, and I was like, but he did the right thing. He saved the world, like from becoming all Inhumans. Like,
right,
makes zero sense. But anyways, I love Cyclops. I think he's really interesting.
We love the X-Men.
I love the leader. I love the X-Men. It's great. Do you have a favorite X-Men character?
No, man, I haven't seen it enough yet, so
Okay.
I can decide for.
We'll have to come back to
Okay.
Columbia and ask David about this again in the future.
When he comes to,
when he comes to America.
That's right.
And visits us.
We'll
have to pick his brain. We'll show him all the different characters. Be like, all right, now pick one.
Okay, for me that's a good option.
Yeah. So we got him started on The Princess Bride the other night, and so he's on the way to.
We thought it was inconceivable that he had never seen that film before.
But anyways, so that's our top 10 X-Men, our favorite. Let us know what you think. Are there X-Men that we left out that you like? Do you disagree about Wolverine, which I'm sure you do? What do you think? Let us know in the comments.
Subscribe, leave some comments.
All right. But we will catch you next time.
We'll be back in America.
Peace.
Until the next year, guys.
Give a peace sign too. Bam, there we go.